Howdy, 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 my name's Anaji Sasuke, and welcome back to Let's Read Homestuck. In the last episode, I, for some unknown reason, thought that Meat only had 7 sections, and I don't know what made me think that. Maybe I saw something somewhere that made me think that, but now it's time for Meat 10. That's a statement. And I'm sorry for how long it's been since the last episode. Things happened, and other things didn't happen. You know how it is. So, Jane Crocker sweeps into her office with grace befitting her station and slams the door shut behind her. The sun cuts through her Venetian blinds, painting butter yellow strips of light all the way from one end of her impeccably tailored office to the other. It's a lovely day, like most days, so not terribly remarkable, except for the horrid news she's just received at her customary morning press conference. Jane comes to a brisk stop alongside one of her floor-to-ceiling windows, which span a full 2/3 of her office, and brushes her hands over her hips to smooth out the wrinkles of her powder blue pencil skirt. Then she hems, haws, puffs out her cheeks, and takes a very deep breath before snatching a pillow off the nearest couch so that she can scream into it. There are surely a multitude of ways for a person to find out that an acquaintance is running against you in a presidential election. From a Carapastian reporter in front of 26 other members of the interspecies press was not the method Jane would have personally chosen. She's certain that she retained her poise and managed to not look too shocked at the news. She did not proclaim, "What?" but instead managed to eke out through gritted teeth and pursed lips a reasonably, a thoughtful sounding, She cannot believe that Karkat would do this to her. This is no longer a political fiat, which the election would surely have been if she'd run uncontested by any other civilization-founding celebrities, but rather a battle between friends. What did Vantus think he was doing? No, it's not Vantus, Jane realizes. This could not possibly have been Karkat's idea. Jane knows Karkat, not intimately or even casually, but well enough to have made a generalized assessment of his basic character over the years. He's not cut out for politics, neither intellectually nor in the very important matter of social constitution. Certainly not when it comes to economic policy. In fact, Jane is pretty sure that Karkat Ventus would probably literally burst into flame if too many people happened to look at him at the same time, like a vampire walking out into the sun. Wait. Jane lowers the pillow from her face and stares at her brass and glass Art Deco ceiling. Was that vampire thing xenophobic against Kanaya? Or whatever it was that Kanaya was supposed to be? No, of course not, she assures herself. With trolls, it was the other way around. Vampires were the only members of their species who didn't balk at the sunlight. Another reason Karkat will make a poor president, unless he ran as the night president? No, the idea is foolish. Best not to give him any ideas. There can only be one president. No, surely this must have been Dave's idea. The kind of plot hatched from their little nest of mutually supportive, codependent interspecies, whatever it was they had going on over there. Dave was certainly no Dirk Strider, no Rosalon, no Roxy, but he had the same scheming gene buried deep down beneath his transparent onion layers of posturing and, frankly, rather outdated humor. You just made a fucking Shrek joke! Don't give me that! An instinct to plan, and despite being inarguably the dimmest of his family's impressive ectobiological stock... Oh dear, stock. That's likely a problematic word, isn't it? Jane thinks. I don't understand how that's a problematic word. Unless you're thinking stocks like the head-arm things? She crosses it off her mental list of appropriate words to say during a press conference. She returns to her train of thoughts. Despite being the least mentally gifted member of his family, Dave has always had an awful lot of opinions on the economy. In fact, Jane cannot remember a single conversation she's ever had with him that wasn't about the economy. She thinks back to one time at John's 18th birthday when Dave engaged her in a rigorous and rather one-sided debate about the deregulation and the failure of neoliberal austerity measures until Karkat had to come over and put his hands over his roommate's mouth to make him stop talking. Come to think of it, of the few direct interactions with Karkat she'd ever had, this struck her as a truly great act of benevolence towards the common good. Maybe he would make a good president. No! She cannot succumb to such thoughts of weakness. She will not! Jane tosses the pillow back onto the couch and begins pacing the length of her office. This really was a disaster. She knew that she was solid on several demographic metrics, the human one most certainly, and the well-to-do Carapastian districts, but Karkat was incredibly popular within the Troll Kingdom, obviously, and Carapastians were widely known to be swayed by underdog populism. And the consorts? Who had even given them the right to vote in the first place? In any other year, Jane hops up to sit on her desk and kicks off her shoes. She picks up a pen and begins to chew the end to bits to stop herself from doing the same to her lower lip. In any other year, this wouldn't be a problem. She'd be happy to accept a graceful temporary defeat and let Karkat play president for a couple of years. After all, unlike her, he was not immortal. But Earthsea's paper-thin idyllic history was very close to a boiling point, its very first boiling point, in fact, which will have everything to do with the problematic nature of troll reproduction. The first generation of natural-born trolls obviously cannot be entrusted to a troll. What? Which was absolutely not a xenophobic thing to think. That pretty was, Jane. It was just realistic. The citizens of Earthsea were able to rest easy knowing that the government held careful reign over over matters of equity. No one could possibly trust something so important to a troll, knowing what everyone knew about their violent history. Losing this election could mean social unrest, protest, even war. Jane presses her eyes shut and runs her fingers along the fine-grained patterns in her mahogany-paneled desk. She's about to think something that she's promised herself never to think again. In fact, she's about to say it. This horrible, ghoulish, girlish thought that used to rule her world and make her so terribly weak. The shameful thought is expressed out loud in the form of a defeated sigh. I need Jake. She spins around and, still sitting on her desk, presses a familiar entry on her phone's contact list. Ahoy, ahoy! Jane has a second, a hard breath to stop herself from groaning. Why were so many of the finest young minds on this planet slaves to this foolish man's perky glutes? Jake, hello, how are you? How are you doing? As well as I can, as well as can be, I suppose, considering that I just woke up in the middle of a mafficking ruckus at the stadium after getting beamed in the pumper with the old horse tranquilizer trick. Which I suppose I should have seen coming, as Dirk has ended all of our matches in this fashion for the past week. Oh dear. That sounds absolutely terrible, Jake. Is there anything I can do to help? Help? Gadzooks, woman! I hardly think myself in need of help. It's a jolly good adventure working with someone so particularly unpredictable as our good friend Dirk. You would think that Jake enjoyed the sadomasochistic nature of his and Dirk's personal and professional relationships. Not sips. Judging from the last conversation about election strategy with Dirk, he seems to be perfectly aware of this feature of Jake's personality. You can't be too nice when courting his endorsement, Dirk would say. He doesn't respond to nice. Be that as it may, Jake, I still do worry about you an awful lot. Well, that is... On Jake's end of the line, there's a crash followed by a noise that sounds suspiciously like something big and hollow and metal connecting with Jake's head. When Jake comes back to the phone, he's yelling into it. Jane grimaces. Very sweet of you, Jane! I appreciate very much that you have called me out of the blue to say such nice things to me with no ulterior motive. From anyone else, this would have been a portentous statement. However, Jane knows that Jake English could not possibly have meant this with anything but the utmost sincerity. Well, you know that because I must note that although I try to stay sporting about what comes at me, I can't say that I'm chuffed about how much of my correspondence lately has to do with the marketing of my image. It's beginning to feel like all people want from me is to stick my derriere on a signpost for their own profit. Oh, Jake, you're right. It must be so difficult for you more than the rest of us due to your, let's say, natural gifts? Huh? But you know I've always wanted what's best for you, right? And I'm ready to give that to you. To give me what? The best, Jake. The very best. Jake is quiet a moment, and Jane can hear the rusty gears turning in his head. You should stop by to see me this evening. Do you mean my evening or yours? We're in different time zones right now, and I dare say that the sun just went down here, so if you wanted to have a soiree on my time, you've missed your chance. Jane feels her fake smile flexing so hard that it was beginning to hurt. Oh yeah, she loved this man in basically every category you could possibly love a person, but sometimes talking to him is like trying to build a house of cards while riding a mechanical bull. Mine, of course! I'll have the best year of your favorite crocodile-made scotch flown in from the consort kingdom, and we'll have a little catch-up. Jake actually hates scotch and only drinks it for appearance's sake, but for this unbelievably pivotal moment in the history of the planet that they created with their bare hands, Jane is willing to spend a few thousand boombucks to watch her old friend pretend to sip at the same glass for a couple of hours while prattling on. And she's willing to do more than that, too. When's the last time we've done that, just you and I? You know what? You're quite right. It's been a spell since we met up without Dirk, and an unforgivably long one at that. Whip me up a kipper, Jane. I'll be over promptly. A kipper? She considers asking if he intended to request that she literally prepare a fish for his arrival, but of course, Jake has already hung up. With a heavy and somewhat regretful sigh, Jane sets her phone down on the desk. Well, she thinks that's that. Time to work your magic, Crocker. This is fucked up. Like, this is not cool. None of that is okay. Like, they had worked through their differences and all that. Everything was all fine and hunky-dory-ish at the end of Homestuck. why did the epilogue decide that it was necessary to, 1, have presidential elections be a thing, and 2, have Jane be like, it's been years since the last time I felt like this about Jake, and we're immortal, but I'm prepared to do things to him to make sure that I become the president. Never mind trying to talk to Karkat, she's probably got his number. How do you jump straight to diddle your friend to earn an election vote? When you... Anyway, next page. Meet 11. Who's talking right now? Oh, John. That's that. You think your glasses are broken forever and you totally fucked up and underestimated young Lord English. Rose should have known better than to trust this to you alone. Rose, your smart, amazing friend Rose. You can almost hear her voice now. Listen closer, jackass. Oh wait, you do hear her voice, vibrating low and muted through the wall of your cell. You've only realized right now that your cell has walls because it's awfully bright in here. It's so white that nothing in the cell is casting a shadow. Looking around, you realize there is no apparent source to all this bright light, making it hard to tell where the floor ends and the walls begin. John? John, are you there? Her voice is muffled, coming from what you presume to be an adjacent room similar to yours on the other side of the wall. Yeah, I'm here. Oh, thank goodness. Everyone's accounted for then. Are you okay? What? Are you okay? I think so. I can barely hear you, though. You hear a thud from Rose's corner, like someone slumping against the wall in relief. Well, that's what you're doing, at least. Eh? Yeah, I'm fine, too, but this is kind of dorky to say out loud, but I don't feel time. That's not just me, right? You guys feel it, too, or don't? Yeah, I mean, there's obviously space inside this box, but I can't do anything. It's like I'm blind. The noise outside the juju grows. Something sharp and metallic splinters above and rains down on the top of the chest. What did my future self say it was we had to do? She never What? I can't hear you. She never really told us what we had to do exactly. Just what was going to happen in a really loose sort of fashion. Does that mean we're stuck? The metallic noises rain down harder, drowning out Rose's attempt at being loud. Plink, plink, smash. Now I can't hear you! Try using less words! The length of the silence coming from Rose's corner communicates just how difficult a task that is for her. She said that the juju would get loaded and unloaded. What? So, I mean, it just got loaded, I think? With us. So I don't think we're trapped in here forever. We'll be unloaded from it at some point. What? I know it's all a bit abstract, but no, I just can't hear you. John, you suck at yelling. Ah! You stop trying to loudly reassure the worried teens for a moment and just think. Now you understand defeating Lord English was never supposed to happen. Not the way adult Rose is implying it would. You surmise the other 4 teens remaining outside the juju were the ones meant to be tasked with his defeat. And judging from the cacophony still emanating from beyond the walls of this house and its confining chest, they're taking the task seriously. But what does this mean for the 4 of you? You try to picture what's going on in the battle outside, but it's not easy. Use your imagination. Imagination. In your imagination, the battle is quite vivid and exciting. The coolness of the action in your mind's eye is belied by the actual sound effects booming all around you, which you can only describe as vaguely stupid. There is lots of hysterical screaming, which, if you're not mistaken, is coming exclusively from the male combatants. There's a sudden swelling of energy that speaks to a vastness beyond its power source, almost as if an outrageous bubble of pure hope were enveloping the stage. Is how you would describe it if you didn't mind sounding ridiculous. Then you hear, it can't be horses? No, not simple horses of flesh and bone. These horses are metal if we're to believe they're horses at all. Stop using your imagination. This isn't getting you anywhere, and clearly your silly imaginative whims aren't doing the slightest bit of justice to the actual awesome things taking place out there in the heat of battle. Frankly, your theorized skirmish lost the handle on any legitimacy it might have had the moment you start thinking about horses. You figure no one will ever truly know what's happening out there. You doubt anyone will ever be able to handle how the incredible, the raw, unfiltered account of this teen brawl actually was, so it's probably for the best. As you slip out of your fanciful conjecture, which may or may not have included a mechanical horse ambush, you overhear Dave from one of the rooms below you, raising his voice to speak to either you or someone else, you're not sure. You place your ear to the floor again. He's speaking to Jade. They're attempting to reminisce again to the best of their ability to do so while shouting through a wall. Once more you ruefully reflect on these teen versions of your friends and all the questions they must have for you. For each other. What would you even say to them? Would you want to tell them about the happy outcomes, knowing they might never get the chance to experience those things for themselves? Would you tell them the sad outcomes, thus reinforcing their insecurities and suspicions that they may never truly be capable of living happy lives? You're not even sure you could handle it, if you were Teen John. You'd have too many follow-up questions, which adult John is in no way prepared to answer. Would you tell them what's up with Roxy and Calliope, again having no real grasp over what's up with them? Would you tell them Dave and Carcat, live in a hive together watching TV all day, and Jade maybe kinda sorta lives there too, but nobody quite knows what's really going on with that? Would you tell them about Terezi? For some reason her name feels like nails in your heart. Makes sense, you guess, because there's a lot of sharp letters in it. She had sharp teeth too, and sharp elbows. Sharp words. Terezi Pyrope was a sharp girl, and maybe what these sharp feelings are trying to tell you is that you miss her more than you realized. Is Terezi dead? Right, the trolls weren't immortal. She wouldn't have let you neglect relationships with certain friends for so long that you missed whole chapters of their lives. She would have put up with you moping around with the salamanders for so long. She would have kicked your ass for being such a loser about everything. She would have poked you in the forehead and called you insufferably lame and told you to pick up the damn phone. You would have called her a weirdo and pretended you hated it, and maybe you would have even believed you hated it. But now, sitting here in this little white cubicle, contemplating your regrets, you don't think you'd have hated it much at all. Would you tell the teens that? You'd probably never tell anyone that, not even her. Another arbitrary thought hits your brain, completely unrelated to the subject of Terezi, or what you would or wouldn't tell a bunch of incarcerated teens, or so you'd think. Am I depressed? You ask aloud, quietly enough that your friends cannot possibly hear it. All the question does is crawl back down your throat and burrow into your gut like it lives there. And it does live there. Because as it turns out, you're really fucking depressed. You're just a giant wet meat sack of self-involved misery, and all that big wet meaty ooze drips out of your mouth every time you open it. All the time and space in the world isn't making it better. It's something you should have been doing for yourself instead of waiting around for things to get better. Well, screw waiting, it's boring as hell. You were John Egbert after all. Immortal, creator of worlds. The one and only man to ever completely transcend the partitions of canon itself. You've got these powers, remember? You hold up your hands and form a rectangle with your fingers and reach outside yourself. Outside canon. To the place where your retcon powers come from. You focus. You strain. You contemplate with all your might. A place you can zap to. Any place but here. You wait. And wait and wait and nothing happens. You slump back against the wall and your despondence eagerly greets you again. Like an old friend ready to pat you on the back and say, "Good try, man. I'll always be here for you when you fail." Thanks, dude, you think. Rose was right. What? The juju has to unload. The what has to what? The only way out of here is for us to wait for someone to let us out. Sorry, guys. Oh. Also, I think I might have depression. Meet 12. So, we gotta hit Jane right into her neoliberal austerity measures. We're all agreed on that, right? Uh-huh. Yeah, sure. Now she's gonna spin some shit about supply side economics, but we can't let her control the narrative on that one, because the first thing that's gonna happen once she begins deregulating the baking industry is that some sweet dumb crocodile down in Consort Land is gonna start putting sparkle glue in the cupcake mix, which isn't even the real issue, that's just surface issues. Right! Definitely. I mean, Earthsea has just been play-acting capitalism the last 5,000 years while we time-skipped ahead to live rad lives as gods without bothering with any of the boring shit that goes into making a civilization, which is fine. I mean, you can't really expect a bunch of teens who didn't finish middle school to set up a sustainable form of social democracy that isn't just blatantly ripped off whatever we incorrectly thought Obama, God rest his soul, was doing back in the day. But Jane's got this old school mentality. You just know she wants to restrict grist alchemy for the sake of growth, and when that goes down, it'll take 3 seconds flat for some nobody in New Dirtstown to drop the Earthsea Communist Manifesto. At which point, we're in for a speed run of either our 20th century or her 21st century. We're gonna glitch under the map straight from Marx to clown dictatorship, which also isn't the real issue. Oh yeah, of course. Are you two even listening, or are you just making noises with your mouths? How dare you! I can't believe I'm being accused of by Dave Strider, reigning emperor, of spewing endless verbal diarrhea directly into my innocent ear ducts every day of my fucking life, of making thoughtless mouth noises. Jade, are you hearing this? I'm scandalized, especially when there are much better things we could all be doing with our mouths. Wow. Wow, that was just a thing that Jade just said. I hope she meant eating food. It's been a really nice day they've been having, and then Jade had to go and say something like that. The air in the hive changes in a way that is palpable, in a way she can't seem to accurately gauge despite having both superhuman and super dog senses. She's lying on her stomach on the floor, chin in her palms, glasses slid down to the tip of her nose, kicking her legs in the air. Elements of her outfit resemble her god-tier jammies, peasant skirt, sparkly flats, and a bold choice in striped tights. Her tail swishes from side to side, showing way too much of her thigh, which isn't really all that salacious considering three of her bras were thrown over the back of the couch where she crashed last night, and the night before that, and the better part of 7 years before that. The other personal effects of hers in the living room, too. Plants on the windowsill, her bass guitar sitting in a corner, a horrific-looking periodic table that Dave made her for her 17th birthday pinned above the stairwell. He typed it in Comic Sans and then deep-fried it to oblivion with JPEG artifacts. Everyone in this room knows each other way too well, so what happens next goes a little like clockwork. Says Carcat for like 30 seconds straight as he retreats into the bulk of his sweater. He scoots half a foot to put his back against the couch when Jade pushes her glasses up the bridge of her nose and looks at him. And Dave, with his preternaturally perfect timing, sweeps a hand over his tablet to bring up a new PowerPoint slide on the TV. He returns to his Comic Sans written political presentation, gruesome artifacts and all, with the grace and proficiency of a man who has diffused an awkward situation in his own household many times per day, every day for many years. Anyway, we all know the real issue is troll reproduction. This election season is going to be so jacked up with dog whistles Jade will never sleep again. Woof! Yo, get ready for the top propaganda hits of the year. Alternia, brutal eugenics-based space dictatorship. Not untrue. Troll homeworld, Lord of the Flies nightmare scenario where kids murder each other just to get the chance to grow up and murder other aliens instead. It wasn't that bad. Actual names and professions on Alternia: Threshucutioner, Legislacerator, Minister of sucking the eyeballs out of your fucking skull and putting my two monstrous H.R. Geiger tier troll dicks up in there and just smashing the shit out of your brain with them. You made that last one up. Also, it was disgusting. Grow the fuck up, you utterly contemptible potty mouth cunt. Also, you know trolls don't actually have two dicks, Dave. That's an offensive stereotype. I know, that's the point. Keep up, guys. Ready for another one? Trolls literally ate babies. Only the defective ones. Like you, my dude. Yeah. So that's why our campaign can work. By the way, I'm going to be giving a long-form exam at the end of this to make sure you're retaining info, because this is only, like, the most important thing we've ever done collectively. Aside from creating the universe, I mean. It's not that it isn't important, Dave. It's that, like, the method you're using to communicate it is kind of inefficient and boring. You mean words? I mean your words specifically. We already understand the issues at play. You don't have to explain it to us over and over again like we're 12. Right, Carcat? Are you asking me whether I've heard this exact speech almost word for word, including rehearsed versions from both the colorful metaphors and jokes 10 or 20 times already? Because the answer would be, yes, of course I fucking have. Carcat elbows Dave in the thigh, a move that is obviously meant to be an action of pure brotherly jest, but instead it comes off as affectionate and overly intimate. Jade's clever eyes don't miss this. Her pupils follow the motion of Carcat's arm, and then they follow the movement of Dave's mouth as he smiles in what he probably thinks is a totally neutral expression that reveals exactly 0% of his true feelings towards Carcat Vantis. In reality, his veneer is as thin and transparent as cellophane. He is the only person who can't see through it. Jade does some calculations in her head. Two kinds of calculations, in fact. Mathematical ones and personal ones. So, do you want a projection of her first year's hit on the economy down to the decimal with a 0.3% margin of error? Because that's a thing I can do if it'll make you stop talking about this stupid election for 10 minutes. Damn, hit me up, girl calculator. I don't think you're wrong about Jane's plans. She proceeds to dazzle the two boys with explications? I think I said that right, explications on complex math utilizing taxation rates, GPD figures, and some damn thing called the Laffer curve, which she easily could have just invented to own them both. But the truth is, she cares too deeply for these boys to fabricate silly-sounding economic models on the spot in order to make them seem foolish in front of the camera later. The thing about Jade Harley is that she's not as good at personal things as she is at other things, like science, or mastering frame modus, or kissing. The last of which she has definitely put a lot of levels into over the past few years because, well, what else are you supposed to do with immortal godhood once you hit the age where the dog hormones start kicking into overdrive? She rolls over and hitches up on her palm so she can stare her two friends down. Her high prescription lenses make her eyes look anime huge. They might literally be glittering. She's so completely serious about the issue she's trying to get across. I don't really understand what the dog hormones were what that's supposed to do. I get what they're implying. I just don't understand dogs well enough to understand why that would make a difference. Unless all of this is just to make the furries like sex joke, because it could be that. So now that that's all out of the way, it's time to get real, you two. That wasn't an invitation for you to make a pun about having all the time in the world or whatever it was you were going to say. Oh. I'm about to lay out some cold, hard evidence, so pay attention! Oh, hang on, let me get a pen! Evidence about our relationship. Fuck! You let me live in your hive when I'm in town. I can't believe I'm pretty intimately entwined in both your lives that you're just talking about this! And you don't disengage from about 86.234% of my flirtations. Wait, why the fuck would you keep track of something like that? So... are we doing this or not? Doing what? Dating, dummy! Oh! That is a complicated topic in my culture that I'm not sure humans are equipped to talk about. Also, totally unrelated to the economy, which I'm not gonna lie, is the only thing I want to talk about right now, or for however long it takes for this other conversation to stop happening. So say no! Well, I'm not just forcing this conversation for my sake, it's for you two as well. I mean, after all this time, have you two even kissed yet? What? Why would we kiss? I mean, he's Dave, and I'm Carcat. Yes, he's Dave and you're Carcat, and everyone we know always calls you that. Dave and Carcat. I can't remember the last time I heard anyone mention one of you without the other. The two of you have basically been together since your days on the meteor. It's so obvious. Together, yes, as friends. Yeah. Very close friends who understand and support each other on a deep and empathetic level that goes beyond hate or pity. You could even say that our relationship transcends quadrants. Yeah, not gonna lie, Cargat, but that sounds totally kinda gay. You humans are your unfathomable gender-based quadrants. Jade face palms. She does it a little too hard and slams the bridge of her glasses into her forehead. Ow! Anyway, weren't you dating that Carpathian couple last time we checked? Jade drags her hand down the bottom of her face and sighs. Yeah, for fun. I'm 23. Don't you think that's a little old to still be dating for fun? Wait, you saying we aren't fun? When's the last time either of you left the house? Jade sighs and crawls closer. She takes one of Carcat's hands in hers. I think we'd all work good together. In her other hand, she tries to grab Dave's wrist, but he flashes up to the other side of the couch. She pouts at him and keeps holding Carcat's increasingly sweaty palm. And I think we've been prancing around that for years now. I want to try dating for real. Have you ever considered, sorry if what I'm about to say totally blows your mind, dating a single person for more than half a sweep for reasons other than initiating the exchange of fluids? Jade's grip on Carcat's hand gets a little too tight. I know I said that word wrong. But her big tooth smile remains flawlessly pleasant. This is a common sort of exchange between them. It could be easily considered flirtation on several different metrics, especially considering the history between them and the sheer level of black flirtation that Carcat accidentally indulged in during his insecure youth. He doesn't even pull his hand away. Okay, first of all, don't slut-shame me, fuck-ass. Second of all, that's what I'm trying to do here. Third of all, Carcat, aren't you from a culture where people are expected to engage in romantic relationships with up to, like, 5 people at a time? That's not the same thing at all. Oh yeah? Explain the fundamental epistemological difference. What the fuck? Okay, Jade, I think there's a flaw in your argument, or in your approach here, because you seem to think winning an argument on super clever logical grounds is going to get a couple of dudes to break down and fling themselves at you in, like, a sexual way. Well, it usually does. Oh my fucking god. This earns Dave a look. A long, sad one that has Jade messing with her glass again so that she can peer right at him and apply some more of that faulty personal math to his facial expression. Dave? What? Is this about Obama? What? No, Dave, are you in love with Obama? Jade, Jesus, where do you get this shit from? Is it about Jesus then? No! Jesus wasn't even real! I know he wasn't real. Wait, are you saying Obama was real? Yes, Obama was real. He was the president. All this time I thought Obama was like an aspirational fictional character that you modeled your life after. I can't breathe. Like Snoop Dogg or Nicolas Cage. This is fucking incredible. They were both real too. I know that you grew up on an isolated island in the middle of nowhere and everything, but Didn't you have, like, access to the internet? Wow, well, I'm sorry I wasted my whole childhood filling my head with pointless things like astrophysics and century numeral systems that allow me to do complex equations in my head. No, dude, that's kind of fucked up. Carcat, stop laughing. Jade's fucked up childhood isn't funny. Yes, it is. Yes, it fucking is. Also, screw you for saying it's not funny. Why is it like some sort of tragedy how she was raised? Because she was raised alone by an animal? I was raised alone by an animal? Fuck off and let me enjoy this! Carcat has finally pulled his hand away so that he can clutch his stomach. He's laughing so hard. Jay gets up and stalks over to where Dave is awkwardly cowering at the other end of the couch and snatches his tablet from him. There's a ripple in the room that makes it clear their god-tier powers have just clashed against each other. He shifts his arm through time and Jade warps the space around them so that she's the one holding the tablet. It's not the first time that they've rearranged the fabric of reality for a petty reason like this. Carcat has permanently sworn off playing board games with them. The moment Jade brings the paint program up on the television, Carcat stops laughing. No! He tries to grab the tablet from her, but she's hovering well above the ground and he is simply not tall enough to reach. With a shit-eating grin and deliberate care, Jade begins to draw a grid. I'll put this in terms Carcat will appreciate. Check it out. Jade, I swear to... Carcat jumps and tries to grab her skirt, but she swims through the air with ease, giggling as she doodles. You better not be drawing what I think you're drawing! Her artistic skill, even at the advanced age of 23, still leaves something to be desired, but it's pretty easy to produce recognizable caricatures of the three people in the room right now. She gives Carcat a pair of fuzzy, angry eyebrows and starts drawing other lines. Sinister lines with salacious meaning. It's exactly what Carcat fears. A shipping grid! Stop! Cease to desist this moment! Do not draw one more line! Oh no, I'm drawing a line, Carcat. Better stop me before it goes all the way from my mouth to yours. Carcat catches the back of her skirt and she goes plummeting weightlessly to the floor, still laughing. Carcat tries to wrestle the pen out of her hand, but all he accomplishes is turning the red ROM trajectory between her and Dave into a red ROM loop-de-loop. See? Me and Carcat have great black chemistry. It is not black chemistry, you horrid non-chitinous windbag. Jade and Carcat roll over each other on the floor and he gets a mouthful of her hair for his trouble. Jade comes out on top and sits on his back, humming to herself as she crafts her grand design. And now that Dave's all chill, he make a great... What's it? Auspicious, she says, cheerful and oblivious. No. Because you and Carcat are kind of like Morales? No. And you and I, well, you know it's always been pretty flirty. Jade. Except! Jade finishes drawing a shaky heart directly into the paint program. It's so big and bright on the TV that it fills the entire room with red light. Carcat raises his face and stares at it in utterly bereft horror. The sick light makes the bags under his eyes look like divots. In this model, troll quadrants are dumb, so we all kiss! I call this political arrangement fully automated luxury polyamorous space-time communism. No one reacts. Carcat is defeated completely. Dave has just crossed his arms and pressed his mouth to a thinner line than usual. Jade's ears flatten and she huffs. It sounds a little like a dog whining. Oh, come on! That was a good one. It's politically relevant and everything. Jade, I'm not going to laugh at your made-up ship name for this imaginary threesome that's not happening. Jade rolls her eyes and tosses both the tablet and pen over her shoulder. Dave flashes across the living room to catch his very expensive computing device in both arms. The pen bounces off his forehead. Jade dismounts from Carcat's poor, abused, terribly mortal spine and brushes down her skirt. Well, I've said what I wanted to say. It's up to you two what you do with it. I have to go talk to Rossi and Callie about the election anyway. Call me when you two figure it all out. Jade clicks her heels together to propel herself back to the air and actually winks at them before absconding through an open window. She has to push the thick curtains aside to do so. Carcat hisses when the light spills over his face. What Jade leaves in her wake is not quite the emotional scorched earth situation she was going for, but a few of her needles have definitely gotten under some skin. Dave and Carcat both stare after her, silently caught in their own private rationalization spirals. Carcat needs to verbalize part of his out loud. Wow! What a crazy and totally improbable conversation we just had with our best friend Jade! Yeah. What a good thing for us that she's totally delusional and has no idea what she's talking about, huh? For sure. Dave offers Carcat a hand up from the floor. When their palms connect, there's a moment where something could happen. A little spark of potential. It could be so very easy for something to happen. Want to play some Troll Tony Hawk? Hell yeah. Okay, that's probably a good stopping point because that was... Okay. I saw the words Beef Vriska, so that's going to be interesting. But that last page was extremely awkward. So I'm going to stop this episode here. This has been Anachi Sasuke. I don't know what episode number this is of Let's Read Homestuck. In the next episode, something Vriska related is going to happen, apparently. If you liked it, a like and a subscribe will be groovy. If you didn't, you only do either one of those things. I think I'm gonna go throw up now. Bye!